Hello and welcome back to another out-of-spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Today I want to focus on two products, putting them head-to-head in a little bit of a battle and give you my thoughts on each. And we're pertaining to the topic of trim. If you bought a brand new Rivian R1S or R1T, you've got a ton of trim on these things that need to be protected, not only from UVs, but to make them look a heck of a lot better, because even this one, directly from the factory, already is starting to look dull around all of the plastic trim. Think of vehicles like Tesla Model Y that also have this over the wheel arches, very similar here to this Rivian R1S, but we're gonna be putting Gtechniq C4 trim restorer and Gyeon trim head-to-head in this battle. Welcome back, let's jump into it. So before we get into the actual products over here on this table, let's just talk about the trim, what it needs, and why it's important to protect it with a ceramic coating. So the trim that I'm talking about is all of this textured black plastic trim here. On this Rivian R1S, of course, we have a ton of it all around the wheel arches, the whole side sill, basically the entire lower half of the car, and this needs to be protected. Now, we are working on this particular R1S, doing a full paint correction, all the ceramic coatings, and one thing I always recommend we do on these is ceramic coat the trim. As you can tell right now, it just looks a little dull. And if it's not ceramic coated, taking something like this off-road, getting dirt and grime all over it, it's really hard to clean this plastic. It stains easy, and especially on a vehicle like this, you have a lot of areas facing directly towards the sun, where other areas like underneath here are not. So you get a lot of inconsistent aging on these products, and boy, I tell you what, on details where vehicles come in after a couple years without any protective coatings on them, these areas really take a beating. So it's nice to get them done kind of from day one. And that's what I'm getting at here. So something like this Rivian, highly recommend from day one or as soon thereafter you can, get these areas ceramic coated as well as your paint. Even if you're going with paint protection film, maybe over your entire Rivian or Tesla or whatever it is, these areas still need love. So make sure you are coating it with the right stuff. So before we get into this, let's quickly compare these two head to head on kind of their spec sheet, if you will. So Gyeon trim, a totally new coating to me that I've actually already tested, and I said, okay, I gotta make a video because I've been using Gtechniq C4 trim restorer. I'm not gonna use the name permanent. That is absolute baloney to me. That is terrible marketing, because even on the back of this packaging, it says this is a 2-year coating, not permanent. I really, really dislike that. Whereas this is only a single year. So already 1 point goes to Gtechniq, but you may be asking yourself, what is the difference in cost here? And there is quite a substantial difference. So these are both 30 milliliter examples of trim coatings, and one is vastly cheaper than the other, and that would be Gyeon trim. So this retails at $44.99 for this whole little kit here. We'll open these up and we'll see what they come with, whereas Gtechniq runs at $64.99. Now, is this worth $20 more? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on. So let's see what comes in here. Of course, you get a single bottle. This is actually not the applicator that you're going to see with your Gyeon trim kit here. I like to use these instead of the dripper caps. I find it's a lot more consistent. But let me open this up here, and as I do off camera, you get an applicator block, and you get some really nice suede microfiber applicators and a great little instruction kit here. Now, a couple things I want to point out here. The packaging is phenomenal. Gyeon stuff is always incredible. As you can see, this is Gyeon prep here. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. Now, Gtechniq, a lot smaller packaging and a lot more basic, if you will. So this is what you get inside the package. That's it. And I'll tell you, for one, Gyeon's presentation, and not only that, but the actual applicators are vastly superior to Gtechniq's here. These are probably the worst applicators. This package for me goes immediately in the trash. And I actually don't even use these. So for myself, this is not a great solution. But what I do use is just these. I typically fold them into quarters to get in really tight areas. I also have a foam applicator that I absolutely love. We can talk a little bit more about that later. I have already made a video showing how to use C4 Permanent Trim Restorer here. Trim Restorer, got to remember that. And absolutely love it. Super simple process. Basically, just for your knowledge, how you do this, you clean off the trim on your vehicle, maybe with Simple Green, get all the big dirt and grime off. And lastly, before you start applying, use something similar to Gyeon Prep here. Now this is basically a coating prep. I use this on paint, I use it on wheels, and of course, as we're talking about here, trim. What this does is breaks down all the oils, polish, any sort of leftover residue on the panel so that these can actually physically bond to the actual trim. It's really, really good stuff. Absolutely love it. So right off the bat, Gyeon trim is well above Gtechniq over here because you have better packaging, more usable, and it's cheaper. But again, it is only, the longevity of it is half the amount of time as Gtechniq. So I would have to say Gtechniq is probably my preferred option. As a detailer, as you know, obviously we have costs in business buying all of these chemicals to apply to your vehicle. So I was interested in trying this, saving some money, but I'll tell you, that savings of money is not worth the effort. Now, in talking about effort, let me tell you a little bit about what I mean. So in this R1S, some of you may ask, why is this whole cowl piece out? I actually pull this off to get in these coating areas here. Just makes my life a heck of a lot easier. No clips that can be broken. Super simple process to do that, so I do pop them out. Now this area here has actually all been coated, and it has a very nice feel to it. And I coated this with Gyeon trim. So aesthetically, it looks fantastic. I hope you can see how much deeper and richer this looks up here versus an uncoated section down here. A massive difference, really ties the whole car in together, gives it a lot more contrast, and of course, protection on there. Super important to have these UV inhibitors on here. So my application, of course, was as follows. Use Gyeon Prep in this area, and this is the applicator I was talking about. You apply either trim coating on here, wipe it on, let it cure slightly, and then grab the towel. And this is where things get really interesting between these two products here. This stuff is so slick. You can feel it when you wipe the towel over it, how incredibly slick it is. You feel the protection on there. You also feel protection when you add Gyeon trim here, but in a very, very negative way. When you wipe a towel on here, it is literally like molasses. Now, it's gonna be nearly impossible for me to show you guys over camera, through a TV screen or your phone screen, what this feels like. But I'll tell you from experience, this feels tacky, especially when it goes on. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves about ceramic coatings. In my eyes, it should be as slick as humanly possible. What's really funny is both of these companies are known for extremely slick paint coatings with CSL over here, Crystal Serum Light and Crystal Serum Ultra. And then over here you have Mohs and Mohs Evo. And what I actually use on the paint is Gyeon Infinite Base Type 1. One of the slickest coatings out there. And there's a big reason for that. They are not using heavy SiO2, which is silicon dioxide. What that does is makes a very tacky wipe off when you're applying a ceramic coating. Now I'm thinking of coatings like C-quartz. I used to use a lot of C-quartz and I had crazy amounts of issues with it literally feeling like you're wiping honey or molasses off paint. Personally, I absolutely hate it. It leaves lint everywhere. It never comes off nice. I want something that goes on extremely easily and extremely slick feeling afterwards. And that's where Gtechniq 100% blows Gyeon trim out of the way. This is a very heavy SiO2 based formula. I have searched everywhere for what Gtechniq uses. They actually don't say, but they very much, Gyeon, I'm saying, very much indicates that, yeah, we do use SiO2 in Gyeon trim here. And I would say immediately, I just installed this little area here and I'm like, this product is never getting used again. To me, it just does not even come close to C4 trim restorer here. This stuff is way, way better application-wise. I hate that tacky feeling. So my kind of impression here is spend more money, get a little less, but get more longevity, and you've got the right coating. So if you're searching for a trim coating and come across this video, I would 100% try Gyeon C4 Permanent Trim Restorer. Still hate that name permanent, but it is really, really nice. So I'm gonna continue coating this area under here in the Gyeon trim. Again, this is only a 1-year coating, which is why I wanted to test it under here. It's not gonna see as much UV, not gonna see as much dirt and grime as areas down here. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to try it. But I am 100% going to be using Gtechniq on the rest of this car and the rest of the cars to come, here in the shop. If you guys are interested in me testing out a coating to put up against Gtechniq C4 here, please leave a comment down in the description below. I'm always searching for the best stuff out there. And if there's something better, I'm going to use it. But in this case, Gyeon trim really did not live up to the hype. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you on another out of spec detailing video very, very soon. Bye-bye.